morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 467. Yes, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah.
Crier Media.
Today, recording day is Wednesday, September 11th. So we have a thought for our American friends today and people all around the world because it didn't just remain a U.S. thing that had enduring global consequences.
Come from away from Newfoundland.
Yes, indeed.
I used to live there.
A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a very, very, very special show for you because we are going to talk about last night's debate. And in order to do that, we have a very special guest with us. But before we introduce him, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
At the moment, it's pretty good, despite that debauchery last night. But I woke up at 1 o'clock this morning in a serious state of despair, depression, anxiety. I was not doing well, so much so that I was in sheer panic. I'm not going to be able to do the show tomorrow or ever again. I have to go see a doctor. I'm like,
oh my.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. It was a really bad moment. And then I somehow sort of shook myself wide awake to realize that no, Paul, this is all just temporary. None of this is real. It's just a moment or two in time. So you will get over it. But it was a full-blown panic attack crisis at 1 a.m. And I have no idea what brought it about, why I woke up at that hour. And I wasn't going to discuss it. And I thought, for transparency effect, I want people to know that, some days are tough. I'm okay right now. But at 1:30 in the morning, 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, I was not good. I was in a state, a severe state, and one that I've not been in a very long time. So I don't know what brought it about, but it was horrific to the point where bad thoughts were coming in. It was, you're old, you're useless, nobody wants you, nobody will hire you, you're just throw yourself, all of those bad things. And they were just bombarding me from everywhere. So it was not a good night. I barely slept. And I went to bed at 9:30. Like I said, after 25 minutes last night, I tapped out.
All right.
You must be quite delighted this morning, though. I'm sure you're feeling really good because
I woke up this morning and was like, yep, still feeling good about that debate. And when it was done, I needed I don't smoke, but I could have used a post-coital cookie or cigarette. I'll tell you that. Ooh, boy. It was very, very, very satisfying, but not in the way I thought it was going to be going in, however, but very, very, very satisfying. And in order to help us discuss this, and we have it on good authority that he has been up all night, or as Brittlestar would say, all night long. Swanky. Because he loved it so much. Kits and Cubs, if you're new to us, you will meet him for the first time because we have a guest from the United States. Honorary Canada, really. He's so close. He's so close.
If memory serves, doesn't he have Canadian citizenship?
Let's ask him. I think he does have Canadian connection of some kind.
No, but if memory serves, he has a Canadian passport.
He might.
He'll let us know.
Yes. And for those of you who've been with us for a while, you know him and you love him. From the What You Can Do Network, please put your paws up and give a big round of applause for your old pal Jake. Yay!
Gang.
You're looking so mindful and demure.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was
cute.
Look, I streamed this thing last night, and then I went and I watched all the streams I could of other people watching. Then I just watched it raw again. And basically, it was like I got the same feeling watching this as when you watch. You know, once in a while, if you get a real grim, you get in a grim mood and you watch like Discovery Channel footage of an animal eating another animal. It was essentially that, but on stage with microphones.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I really hated that deer.
Okay, so yesterday, for those of us who watched it, now, don't get me wrong, it was a freak show of the highest order.
Oh, yeah.
All right, don't get me wrong, but we also watched probably the most masterful debate performance in my lifetime in the U.S. Now, when this whole thing started, I really, really thought, okay, like we are going to see the prosecutor crossed with not angry black woman, because that's the trope everybody wants her to fall into.
Of course.
But a firm black woman who don't take no shit. And I thought she was literally going to crush him under her heel and just beat down. But it became very, very evident early that she was going another way. And it became also evident very early that he was just going to take the slip and slide down to Crazy Town. I mean, within the first 29 minutes, I think we had everything under the sun, right? So, but right in the first answer, I mean, the first 15 seconds of his first answer was good, and then it was just like, whoa, here we go. And it's like you said, it was this thing. It was like, you know, just like take the sword and just like put it in, right? Like you see the animal is suffering. And she's just like, instead of stomping, it was just like every now and then that she just went from like, oh my God, this is so sad. Like you saw the look on her face, like this is so sad. And it's like, yeah, I could end your misery, but you know what? I think I'm just going to let you bleed out.
There was a part of me last night that was hoping, although I know strategically it would have been detrimental because they're trying, you know, she's the first woman of color running for president. It would have been detrimental had she code switched, but I was really hoping for a code switch and she would turn into the, you know what I'm saying? Oh, bitch, please, you know.
the discipline it took her to not, like, there's somebody that said this on Twitter, the discipline it must have took her to not turn around and say, "This motherfucker."
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
oh God.
And that's what I was hoping for that, but I know that strategically it would be dangerous
Yeah.
to the campaign, number one, and number two, she's too smart to do that.
Yeah.
She wouldn't get baited into doing that. She's way too intelligent for
Yeah.
that crap.
The gay person in me wanted to see her go all Julia Sugarbaker on his
Yes.
ass at some point like this. But it's just, like I said, she just let him bleed himself out. And it was a thing of beauty. Like, I did not see the strategy coming,
Mhm.
but it's like he is doing it on his own. And then she just started handing him bait.
Well, it was the
After
rally
bait,
part.
after bait. It was just like, Jake,
Please.
this was beautiful.
Oh, it was. She was a prosecutor last night. She, first of all, I don't think she did him any kindnesses at all, nor does he deserve them.
No.
I think she spent the whole time goading him, knowing full well how he would react. Played him like a fiddle, like that. I believe the phrase I used last night was that she plucked, gutted, stuffed, dressed, and cooked him. It was just so thorough. She had a 100 lines that would be that are just infinitely repeatable, including that he got fired by 80 million Americans.
Yeah.
Facts. And then she says to his face that he's having problems dealing with that fact.
Yes.
Jesus God.
Because he got fired by 81 million people. He's kind of having trouble processing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was like,
oh, she did that.
I was just like, literally, it was like, ooh. Did that just happen?
Like, he starts off and he's in this like low voice and he's trying to be
Mellow
Donald
and
Trump,
reserved.
the responsible version, and she says one thing. I watched it maybe 5 times back to back. I don't even remember what the thing was. I just remember his reaction, which is his voice goes up an octave, his face gets cherry red, and he doesn't calm down for the rest of the night.
Well, then he starts playing his squeeze box, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. By the way,
he
just a
didn't do
quick
the
recap of
self-soothing thing, though. He didn't give himself a hug.
No,
he
no.
didn't do that, but he did manage to tell, particularly libertarians who are especially weird. Well, they're at least principled weirdos.
Mhm.
But he did manage to tell folks that he intends to send the cops door to door, harassing people in the pursuit of the Browns. He just went ahead and repeated a rumor that's so racist I didn't think it was true for several days.
Yes.
Which
I
is
know.
apparently that Haitians are eating dogs. Insane. Like, it's not only racist, it's like if I came to you and I was like, what's Indians are stealing cotton candy all over the world. They're crazy for it, and they'll steal it. It's one of those things where you're like, I acknowledge that it's racist, but it's so bizarre.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the thing that's getting me. Why would you believe this just for the weirdness of it?
And what is the deal with this party and dogs? And what is it with him and dogs specifically?
He even
died like a dog. She looks like a dog. This thing like a dog.
He did another dog one. He said threw him out like a dog last night. I'm like, are you throwing dogs out of carts, dude?
What is this party? Like Christine Nome. It's like I saw that picture of like vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, like with his dog hunting. And somebody says, do you notice that the gun is not pointed at the dog? I'm just like how you could tell he's a Democrat, right? Like this, even
Trump
on the
not getting it.
I guess he's trying to.
His aim is off.
Yep. It's like, and then he tried to get him try to get her on guns too. So she's like sitting there like this. Like she's interrupting at some point like this. I need to say something because he kept on interrupting at some point like this, and they weren't letting her. So she used the part of the next answer and she says, he says 2 things about me. He keeps on saying those things about fracking, and he's saying that thing about guns. It's like both Tim Walz and I are gun owners.
Yes. Well, the thing that I thought
it's just like Boom. That's all you needed to know.
I
Nothing
thought
else.
that she let go, and I think it's probably a good idea to have let it go. But I mean, in my vindictive, petty mind, which is not something that I use all the time, but it's there. We all have that within us. I mean, I thought
Oh,
when he went on about their eating dogs, she's like, "Well, you were endorsed by a guy who actually ate a dog."
who
RFK.
is that? Did he eat a dog?
Yeah.
Yes, he's bragging. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying. What is it with this party and dogs?
He ate a dog.
Ate a dog and then
Had
something like with a
brainworms.
bear carcass that
Yeah.
tried to make it look like an accident and then like cut the head off a whale that got beached
Yeah.
and the
What
cats
the
got on his car. Like what is it with this party and animals? Seriously. And because of that thing, they had these AI memes of like Donald Trump like hugging ducks and kittens and stuff like that. And
Oh my
the only
God.
thing I'm thinking is like, do you really want to draw attention to you grabbing more
Yeah.
pussy right now?
Yeah. There's so many layers of stupidity. It
Oh,
was
it's
weird. It was
Mm.
like all at once people were realizing, oh, this is an easy target. I don't know why. I don't know why ABC just decided to suddenly start doing the news, but they did. They were fact checking. I was seeing people. I have to admit, it was unfair of them to fact check Donald Trump's lies so often and not fact check the true things Kamala Harris was saying. I'm just trying to be fair to the conservatives.
See, I'll do it for you
Oh.
because you don't have the hair.
It's facts. You have like this setup is essentially a chart of hair loss from one side to the other.
Hello.
I'm about halfway between. I'm gonna be on that side shortly, my friend.
Oh my god. Jeez. Oh shit.
Well, I started shaving it a few years ago because it just got to be to the point where this is ridiculous. Now I'm going to look like I have a comb over it. No.
Oh, we're almost there over here.
Oh
Real
my God.
close. Just I made. Oh no. Sorry, I almost scooped Mr. Beaver. I almost brought up the name that
Yes.
will make 1,000 hearts go aflutter.
Yes.
So
No,
I
let's
won't do
save
that. I almost did it. I apologize. I almost did it. I'll leave that to you, sir, because I know you really wanted to bring that up. So I'll leave that be for the time being, and you bring it up when you see fit.
Okay.
I think I know who it is, but I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Okay.
Oh my
I'm
God.
gonna drop it. Wait, in the chat, maybe.
So if you put an image there,
Yeah.
Mr. Grizzly, this sort of captures it for me. This is a Canadian, and he is published to the United States as well, I believe. But
Yes, he is.
Michael Diater, and he says, when I drew this before the debate, I felt Kamala Harris was going to win, and I was going to do a second one of her knocking Donald Trump out. But she made Trump look so weak in that debate, this concept seems stupid now. And it's basically David and Goliath with Trump,
Yes.
like
Oh
sort
yeah.
of captured from underneath, like a reverse dive camera angle, which always makes someone look like a despot and a dictator, by the way. Like this, if you were a world leader, in French they call it contre-plongée. I don't remember what the term is in English like this, but never get photographed like this from someone below you looking up.
No.
Especially if you're sitting at your desk and very proud and happy like this.
That's why all the
That's the
selfies
pose.
the kids take are with the camera up high looking down.
That's the pose that photojournalists take of you when the story is going to be you're a dictator or a tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
You got that from Citizen Kane. Watch the camera angles in Citizen Kane and you'll see like that. So she's like little David holding a slingshot, standing right in front of him. He's got his clenched fists. Like this, and of course the tie that's way too long.
Way too long.
Like this, and it seems that the second one was going to be, with her, like turning around, like haha,
Knocking him
like
out
this,
with
and
a
him on the
slingshot.
ground like this, and exactly like this. But it wasn't a David and Goliath, like I said, it
No.
was literally a cornered and wounded animal.
Mhm.
Who
It
just,
was like
mewed.
Andre the Giant and maybe Goliath. I don't know. It was like if David showed up like at Goliath's breakfast table an hour before he thought they were going to fight and beat him half to death in front of his wife. Like it was just, it was. I'll put it like this: I would have felt terrible for Trump if A, I didn't know what a monster this guy is,
Right.
and B, he wasn't actively saying racist stuff as he was going down. I was like, oh, thank you for reminding me that I don't have to feel bad for you, you miserable.
Yeah.
I-
I
no,
can
hear you.
fully just enjoy this experience.
I was the same way. Like yesterday, I was commenting. This is like, I almost feel sorry for you. It's like, hey, don't you dare start. Like, no. I said almost because I'm human.
Yeah, like this has.
But I'm sitting there. Sorry,
It's like
but
when
I'm
you
sitting
hear
there-
something that sounds like a puppy whining, but you have to remind yourself, no, that's just a Nazi dying. It's fine.
Right. It's like that.
not deep.
It's like the end of the movie, one of those Halloween movies. At one point, like I remember, like Michael Myers is like cut under the trunk of a tree, or a branch of a tree, or something like that. You know, and Jamie Lee Curtis is going to see like if she's going to take the mask off, like this. And he's reaching out his hand and turning his head, like "Help me!" And it's like,
No.
fuck yeah, man! Like she just grabs the axe. You know, it's like, no, hell no, man.
It's
I know.
such a
Don't
good.
try that.
Yeah.
Don't try that thing on me. It's like, I know
It
who
is-
you are.
Oh, that's perfectly put. It was exactly like the whole world was like the audience watching a scary movie last night. And you're right. It was exactly like the last few minutes where everybody's screaming like, no, every
Yes.
time there was a chance to go light on him. Like, nope.
Oh my god. Okay, so Mr. Grizzly, do you have the link I sent you for the debate
Sorry.
by
Say
email?
that again.
Do you
Pardon?
have the link I sent you for the debate by email?
Oh no.
No.
I can vamp a little bit for the audience by fetching about
Please
this.
do. Please.
The experience of being an American in the early 21st century is thinking that the whole world pays attention to you because you're great. And then growing up and finding out, no, the whole world pays attention to you because you're essentially a drunk waving around a gun. Like, I would love to reach a point in my life where I mention who the U.S. president is, and people are like, "Oh, I didn't know that," because nobody's bombing me right now with your bombs, you fucking psychopaths. Be great, but for basically my entire adult life, except for maybe a brief span in 2022, we've been actively exploding folks, and I can literally only apologize.
Oh my god. Okay, so in this thing that happened yesterday between Kamala Harris and that other guy, the thing, seriously, the baiting in it is what I found absolutely wonderful. You know, when it's
Yes.
how would I put it? It's like you saw him, he was serious for about like the first 15 seconds, and then you see it go down. And then gradually, and this all happens in the first half. The second half was way less interesting, actually, because like
Yeah.
all the damage had been done and he was just not able to pull up, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Like this. And then the closing statements, there wasn't particularly anything remarkable. Either way. But like Donald Trump reserved the right to close, to take the final last one, and he just
He won the coin toss.
did nothing
Exactly.
with it. Like literally did nothing with it.
He was terribly predictable. He rambled and then petered out, and it was the saddest possible ending. It was amazing.
Yes, and she did things like along the way, say like tonight he is going to do this, and
Yeah.
then he did it.
Yeah.
Like at one point early on, she said
That was
something
the
about
prosecutor.
immigration. Yeah, he's just like, you are like, it's like, tell him what you're going to tell him, then tell him what you told him.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him what's going to happen. Watch it happen. Tell him it happened.
Amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But yeah, she was really, you saw him go and then it's sort of like his voice went up, like you said, Then he got a little shouty. Then he got a little yelly. Then he got to the point where he always had to have the last word, which is when the mics were being cut off like this. No, I need to respond to this. He just couldn't let things go.
Yeah.
And that it's like slowly over time, you just saw the man lose mastery over himself.
Yeah.
I guess,
yeah.
and she had baited him a couple of times, but once he had lost mastery over himself, like this, like every now and then she did the like this, and I was like,
Yes.
"Oh,
was
you're going
hilarious.
to tell me what is going on now, okay?" And then there were then every now and then, and you had some people going like, you know, like she's doing great on the content, but her face is betraying her. Like that, she needs to control her face. Like no, there was
she
nothing
was.
freaking wrong with her face.
She knew exactly what she was doing.
There was nothing wrong with her face. Her face was screaming everything we were thinking at home. There was
That is
nothing wrong with her face. I was sitting there at home going like, huh?
Yes.
As it
That's
was
the
happening.
difference between these two and their temperament. They both went in there knowing that the mics would be off in between when they were supposed to be speaking. And Trump couldn't adjust to that, whereas Harris used that to her advantage. She played
did.
the game
She did, but not in both ways. She played it to her advantage by letting him speak. Basically, Operation Let Trump Talk was under effect. But
this is the new
like
meme,
this,
I swear to you.
Yes. It's like, that's sort of like, oh, you're going to tell me you're going to tell me about me right now, right? Or my husband or my father. I was like, okay. And this is going to be cringeworthy.
Look at that sour puss.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh.
Like this, so, right. And then when she has him like this, then she like, because she baited him a couple times, but then she just like throws it out and throws it out. Like everything she said had like something. Like, and sometimes she didn't even need to bait him. Sometimes he's the one like this when he starts talking about other people being criminals, and it's like, oh, dude, you're a one-man crime spree, and you're facing a prosecutor. You're going to talk about other people crime? Oh, exactly. It's like,
this is the new meme unlocked, right? It's just, oh, really?
I got to include that. That's got to go in my little palette.
Oh man, it's just perfect, right?
Oh my God. So
in this audio visual medium, never mind, this is off topic. I was just going to say, I do like video stings like a shock jock. It's irrelevant. Please continue. I'm enjoying hearing about the downfall of a fascist.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some clips. Now, they're all going to be from the first half. And some of them are going to be longer because you have to, if you didn't watch it, you have to see it. Oh, yes. Oh, like
that's
that.
A good one.
Kamala the Riveter. Kamala as Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. More like Kamala the Riveting.
Aha.
All right. This is just the entrance. And you can tell from the entrance, like this. Okay, she's already got this.
Oh, yeah.
She's won this. And can already tell that he's scared.
Here we go.
Now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Right away.
Kamala Harris. Sept, good to be.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and
the see it from the start.
Okay.
Right, even when they were behind their podiums, you could see right away he was terrified, and she was like,
"This is gonna be fun."
Exactly. Now, here's the thing: right, there was so much going on in that little, like, just the 25 seconds up until she says we're gonna have a thoughtful and spirited debate. Kamala Harris is the first one that enters the screen. She enters stepping confidently.
Mm-hmm.
He enters second. He's taking small little steps. She walks confidently until about 1/4 of the stage, then sort of slows down to see where he's going. He takes the route to go directly behind the podium rather than cross the stage in front of the podiums to shake hands. So he's trying to divert away. But
To
because
hide as a baby might. Yeah.
yes, but because she slowed, she walked. So it's like this thing in tennis. Like sometimes you get run all the way to the side, and you're supposed to try to come back to the middle, right? To see. But sometimes if you run too far to the middle, then they just send it to the other side. So sometimes you only come about a quarter of the way
Mm,
rather than all the way
fair
to
enough.
the middle. Because
Yeah.
if they come back, you can take it. And if you don't, well, you have 3/4 of the way. Yes, it's going to be a little harder than if you're halfway, but you still probably have a chance to get it. So she sort of slowed her roll a little bit. Sai was going that way, turned to go away, stuck her hand out to shake his hand because they have never met before.
they've
So it was
never
the
met
first
before?
no, it was the first
Yeah.
time they were meeting. And
That's why she
introduced
says
herself
Kamala
and
Harris.
like this. And the thing with Trump is that we all know, right? It's the whole greeting. The Prime Minister of Canada got him that way too, right? Because he would always like grab people's hands and pull people like this. And the Prime Minister like stuck out his hand, but then put his hand on Trump's shoulder.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
hi, like this to prevent him from
Thank you
pulling.
for that, by the way.
Yes, they showed everybody, okay, everworld, this is how it's done. Because he
Yeah.
had been pulling everybody in all the time, and then that shit kind of stopped somewhat.
Yeah.
Like this. But so she just like came right out with the hand right out, firmly out, straight out, arm locked, so that he couldn't do anything. And it's just like, and then confidently walks back to behind the podium after she entered like this. He did not look at her the rest of the night.
Oh, he was terrified. Yeah. And I just want to be clear. They came out in the beginning, and right away she goes like a lady
Mhm.
to meet him in the middle of the stage and shake his hand, like you're supposed to do.
Yes.
He either because I don't know, Grizz, this is a judgment call, man, but I'm not sure if he was being petty or if he's just so narcissistic it didn't occur to him that he ought to shake somebody's hand. But
I
he
think
goes right
it's
to his podium.
yeah, I think it's the latter, not the former, to be honest with you. He's just such
Fair
a
enough.
narcissist.
I would believe that, but he doesn't shake her hand. He goes to the podium, and she essentially says, "I'm going to make a gentleman out of you. I know you're not one, but tonight you're going to act like one." And she goes to his podium, and shakes the hand. He can't escape it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well, and
he
the
was
amount
the
of
first to go to the other side of the room this time.
well, and the amount of people online that highlighted that moment and picked it out and said, "Look at her striding confidently, standing up straight. Look at him leaning forward like he has some sort of frontal lobe issue."
Lurch came in. It's just
Well, I'd say snuffleupagus, but that would be an insult to Snuffleupagus.
no, not
beloved,
Snuffy. We love
beloved
Snuffy.
character, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, even like we love Lurch too. So,
yeah.
oh my god, he just like lumbered in there.
She
All right,
went over and grabbed him by the
Kit Kat.
tiny hands. It was
Should have
fantastic.
harder,
Small-fingered
tiny
vulgarian that he is.
Absolutely.
All right.
Delight.
Geez, I love it. All right. So, we're going to show the first question and answer, the debate, because, or the sort of like the first segment, because want to show how Trump did get off to a good start, but then started
Well, he
tried.
He did.
and it didn't take long.
I will give him credit for that. I have to, because I was shocked out of my mind how when it first started, I went, "Oh, this is civil." He's got an earpiece and they're going, "Don't move, don't say anything, keep your mouth shut." Unlike the debate he had with Hillary Clinton years ago, when I was in Geneva, Switzerland at the time on vacation, and I got up at like 3:00 in the morning or something to watch it. And I watched it.
Oh,
10 minutes in, I'm like, "I'm out." The guy was looming about the stage. No.
Oh, yeah.
No. I mean, yeah, exactly. The reason they muted the mics last night was because of him, not her.
Yeah.
He's known to go just wild and just.
It's not like this has been needed before. It's because he won't shut the up.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. The other thing I had forgot to mention, like this, when they were muting the mics, right? One, she let him hang himself, but the second thing she did, every now and then she did sort of heckle and interject, which could be heard even though the mic was off. and he could not resist. She
Oh,
figured
yeah.
out that she could bait him by like
Yeah.
this, and then he tries that thing because I did have that on the clip. But remember when she was debating Mike Pence and she was like, I'm talking now?
Yes.
He decided to recycle that and steal that from her at one point when she did heckle. She just turned around
Okay.
like this, and he's like, that
So
was like the most weak passive aggressive.
it was weak because he didn't do it intentionally.
No, he
He
had.
got
You could
a
tell he had it planned at some point in the night. I'm going to do this.
yes, but when he did it, he was too mad to pull it off successfully. So he does it, and then he like keeps blowing off steam and loses the momentum, and then he remembers he's supposed to mention that it's from before, and he goes back and does it, but it just comes off as weird.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't campy, or it wasn't sort of like she left herself open like this. It was just like, oh yeah, I need to do this at this moment. She heckled like this, and then he does it like this, and like, how does it feel? It's like,
Yes,
and
yes.
again, it's like, you don't say, how does it feel? You just let it show
Oh,
in your
God.
face, right? It was
Yeah.
just so, and it had this allure of, and some people were making the comments beforehand, like, tonight Donald Trump is going to put her in her place, and that literally was. It was just like, this is all it looked like was the man from 1930 whatever, like this, just attempting to put the little lady in her place, except it's
Yes.
2024 and she's a prosecutor and you're a
Yeah.
predator. And like this, and she's just like,
Also, only one of them's allowed to be in the White House right now.
yeah.
Just want to point that out.
Well, and the other one
Cosmo.
might be in prison sometime soon.
Yeah, one might not be allowed to be in public very shortly.
You know,
all right.
I laugh about it, but here's the thing. It's depressing to think that somebody who is a convicted felon on 34 counts is trying to run the most powerful nation on earth.
And that
The-
so many are really happy that he could.
And people are supporting this. We are in the upside down world right now.
Yeah, the fact that there's like that the debate was even necessary is a deep indictment of society in general.
Yes.
Specifically America. What a shame. But I have to say, Pierre over there is of the same stock.
Oh, he
and I don't
embarrasses us
know.
daily.
Here's what I haven't been able to figure out. What I've been bashing my head against for the last month. Why there is like any one thing these people do, the ultra conservatives all around the world, any one thing they do should be disqualifying, except it's not. They get infinite passes from their quote unquote base. We got to figure out what's going on, because those people, they might not be sympathetic victims. They might not even be decent people, but it doesn't change the fact that they are victims, because they are the ultimate targets of this. They act with in the repugnant way that they do by design. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. We got to figure out how that lie keeps working. And then we got to go eat that motherfucker and his cookies.
Well, and the thing is, I think a lot of it has to do with he hates the same people they do. I think that's what it is. They don't realize that voting for this man, that he also hates them. But they get to hear hatred towards the people that they're afraid of, and they're afraid of these people because somebody wealthy with all the cookies on their plate told them that somebody is that foreigner is going to take your cookie. And this is what it boils down to.
Here's the thing. I got sympathy for a man in a vest. I certainly do. But so I'll go this far, even though it's not a matter of right or wrong. I just want to make that clear. But as a matter of strategy, you can still hate the foreigner guy in the vest. I don't think you should. I think we should have a whole separate conversation. But you need to understand, just so that we can agree on like what reality is. You need to understand you're voting against your own interests.
And that's the problem. They don't seem to understand this. They fail to understand that you are voting against your own interests. And it's whether it's Trump or Pierre Poilievre, it's the same.
Yeah.
You're voting against your own interest because these people only want to give money to their wealthy donors and screw the rest of us.
I'm sorry you saw me laughing. I just saw the comment from PNC Bio. It's like, they don't take your cookies, they eat your cats.
Oh yeah, that was funny because the way they rebuffed him on that one, there's absolutely no evidence that took place.
Yeah, we will show that today. All right,
and then
Grizzly.
there was somebody did bring up something online where they showed a woman who had killed a cat and started to eat it in the town of Springfield, Ohio. She's an American citizen. She's not a migrant or an immigrant or from Haiti. She's a person who is off her meds.
I do want to, first of all, thank you for pointing out where that misinformation came from. And it shocks me that we always know more about their own conspiracies than they do. But moving on, it's Elaine and Tom Trask at the very least can verify that this is true. Before the actual debate started, I predicted that Kamala Harris would do a very specific petty thing that only a prosecutor could pull off. And that is needle him one last time right before the buzzer so that this big baby will start ranting before his mic can turn on. And then they won't hear the first part of whatever thing he's ranting about. Listen for that. Listen for that. That's all I have to say.
All right.
She wasn't even Springfield. I didn't know this. Was 100 miles away, and there's no proof she ate it. She just killed her neighbor's cat. Yeah. And she's white?
Yeah.
Where'd they even get Haitian from?
I don't know.
Okay, Mr. Grizzly, do you have the first clip lined up?
I do, sir.
All right, so this is how it started. Enjoy.
Let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to
Okay. Hold, where do I begin? To begin with, let's see.
Was that the whole thing?
No, it moves on to another question. We'll bring it back in a minute.
Okay.
The first was the
Just
least
need to interject.
interesting. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
So let's start with the beginning. I thought I did not care for the way she responded to that first question. She started out very weak. I thought, this isn't good.
Yes.
I'm from the middle. I'm like, lady, and she did not answer the question,
Yes.
which I'm like, this is not good. This is not a good start. Now, she picked it up and she had some good comment, but she never answered the question,
That's true.
which I did not care for. Okay.
It was
That
the weakest that she was all night.
It was.
was the opening
She started
question.
off very weak, and
Weakest
I
and
thought, oh,
shakiest.
shit. Oh, this is not good. So then
Yeah.
he goes on about how they're coming in and they're taking our jobs. Look at Springfield, Ohio. Actually, I saw a news clip on PBS about Springfield, Ohio, and how the mayor has thankful for the Haitians that have immigrated, the migrant workers from Haiti who have come in to Springfield, Ohio, because factory workers or factory owners in Springfield, Ohio have said point blank, we love our Haitian employees. You know why? They show up for work every day. They do not complain. None of them do drugs. None of them show up drunk. They don't call in sick. They do their shift. They get their work done, and they're highly productive. So
Immigrants, man, that is the story.
they get
Across the
shit
board.
done.
You,
Period.
Because you traveled a great distance to be where you are. By default, you got more get up and go than the average cat.
Yep.
Good on you.
And let's not forget that a lot of the jobs that he says they're taking, black and migrant workers, what his words, yeah, it's because people who look like me refuse to do them. And in many cases, many cases, black and brown and migrant workers who come in and take these jobs because they are desperate for work are paid less than somebody who looks like me would get paid. They're not taking a job. Some greedy owner is taking advantage of these folks.
Yes.
Because they're thankful to have work and have any sort of income, but they're getting paid less than they should be by law because the corps know they can get away with it. When
You
he
should be
says-
thankful you have a job. Look, these people are willing to do it.
Exactly. And when he says he's gonna deport all these people, you do realize that the U.S. economy heavily relies upon this.
Literally, we cannot feed ourselves without these folks.
Period. The state of California, which is 40 million people, 2 million less than Canada. I had to put that in there. But the state of California, 40 million people. I mean, without a migrant workforce, the crops rot in the field.
Correct.
Period.
In Florida, they had to, we might have talked about this. In Florida, they had to have special city council meetings where they literally were begging, like conservatives were begging migrants not to leave. And they were
Yes.
saying, it's all just talk. You're going to hear a lot of this, but don't worry. We don't mean it.
Yeah.
Because they just, we literally cannot function without immigrants.
Well, and it's the same here in the province of Ontario when it comes to migrant workers and farming. And I'm sure it's much the same way in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Correct me if
Indeed.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So for me, I was watching that and I was like, wow, it sure didn't take you long to the Browns are coming, fear the Browns.
Yeah.
Right in the first answer. It's like, I thought he would give us a little amuse bouche before,
He did dive right into the racism.
Yeah.
he just dived
Head
right
first.
in
He did a full gainer off the 10-meter board.
in the
It's
quarter
like
pike
when the
position.
Power Rangers jump right to the Megazord all assembled. Like you're like, oh, they're going to get a whooping this time around because they've jumped right to the desperate measures.
All right, let's see
I
what's
do want
next.
to
sorry.
offer one piece of perspective here. You and I were not satisfied with that first answer she gave.
No.
And there will come a time later where we will be not satisfied with a couple of other moments. That's because we follow this stuff all the time. I do agree that she was finding her footing in this first answer and she improves from here on out. But understand that the target audience is dumb sons of bitches who somehow haven't decided yet. They're like, one person did a coup, but another person seems kind of
uppity,
naggy. Like, what the are we talking about? So she is trying to communicate to the dumbest possible eukaryotes that God ever saw fit to allow to exist on this earth.
Yeah. And there's a thing here. It's like there was no opening statement. So a lot of people try to take the first question instead, saying, look, I know you asked me a question, but I'm going to make an opening statement, present myself on so, I mean, she's did the classic thing. It's just that these politicians, when they're doing that, you have to try and weave in an answer.
Yes. And there was
You
no
weave in an answer like this.
I don't care how little somebody follows politics. They can tell you didn't answer.
Especially are you better now than it was well, yes, because 4 years ago was COVID.
Yeah.
So it was the answer to that one was pretty simple, right? So it's sort of like this, it's like, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Right?
All she had to say was yes.
Yes, obviously.
So
right? I mean, some individual people may not be, but yes, overall, obviously, we all are.
And for
we're
those
not hiding in our houses because we're worried about being taken out for sharing the same air.
And I need to highlight this for those who are watching and listening who hate watch us and hate listen to us because they say we're nothing but a bunch of bleeding heart lefty liberals. I don't belong to any political party. I never have and never will. Mr. Beaver actually was a delegate. Delegate, sir?
No, a member.
A member of the Conservative Party of Canada. So,
yes, for 1 year.
For 1 year, yeah. Now, I say this because I am picking on her for that. She didn't answer the first question. I am never going to see eye to eye with any political person 100% of the time. I'm not going to see eye to eye with you two gentlemen who I love and respect dearly 100% of the time. That's just simply how life is.
Yeah.
We all have differences of opinion, but we need to let people know somebody screws up, we're calling it out.
Absolutely. And that's healthy. That's good for us.
Yes.
It really is.
It is.
All right.
For clarification, I am a bleeding heart lefty.
Let's continue, I guess, with that clip.
Yeah, no problem, sir.
Okay.
Here we go.
Again, and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
Talk
Project
about
2025
eating
was
the hook.
state. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was now she did answer indirectly here. Are you better off than 4 years ago by saying what they were left with without
Yes.
saying, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is where the
Yeah.
thing really began for me.
Yes, this is where it really began.
Yeah.
But you'll notice like Project 25 was she mentions it like this. That's the first bait.
Yes.
So she's going fishing. Let's see what happens.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out
Sure,
there.
Jan.
I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some
I'm an ignorant lout, and I will remain one.
ideas. I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows.
Wait a second. Back that up. Listen to what he says here very carefully.
Ideas. I guess some good, some bad.
I haven't read it. They have a lot of ideas, some good, some bad.
Yes.
Find people on both
point.
sides for Project
didn't read it.
2025.
But I didn't read it.
I
but
didn't
some
read it,
ideas
and-
are good.
Yeah. I didn't read it, and they misspelled a bunch of words. Like,
It's all your people who wrote it, but
Let's
that's
continue.
good
But
catch
it makes no
there.
difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people
fact.
died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs.
Sorry, I got to stop right there. I'm gonna laugh my guts out for. We did things that nobody would thought possible. You went to the moon 57 years ago.
we think you can get PPE.
Yeah,
I think PPE is a small.
with in a vehicle that had less power, less computing power than a calculator.
Yes,
You went to space.
you went to space.
No one's impressed by the ventilators.
No.
All right, it's not nothing, but just
No,
but you ruin your accomplishment by saying it's the greatest thing any human brain has ever conceived of. Well,
Yes.
no, it isn't.
Not a flex.
Not even close to that.
Not
Nope.
a flex.
Okay, we'll continue.
Bounce back, and it bounced back, and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our
Great
country, if
phrase.
not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look,
So first of all, stuck him at the end,
Yeah.
and he fired off too quick. Brilliantly done, Ms. Harris. Second, this is the brilliance of her performance last night. There is a lot of moments like that Wharton Business School thing
Cool.
where she is saying things that insiders will get.
Yes.
Yes.
And they won't seem like such a big deal to
Right.
outsiders. So
Right.
we know this idiot went to Wharton and has been embarrassing
Somehow.
them by mentioning that.
Yes, because they said one of his professors said he was the dumbest goddamn student he ever had. That's what he said. That's the quote. Donald Trump is the dumbest goddamn student I ever had.
So we know that it's like a joke in Shrek where it's meant on a couple of different levels. Brilliantly done, gives a little candy to us, and really gets under his skin.
Oh yes.
He does not have the ability to let that go, and she knows it. So to the people they're both trying to impress right now, who don't know where this guy went to school, it looks like he flies off the handle for no GD reason. And that just speaks to how savvy Kamala Harris is.
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing was like, so she again, Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
This guy, like I keep on saying, right? Like this trumpita. Evita just wanted to be respected by the middle classes.
Yes.
He just wants to be respected by old money.
Exactly, yes.
Old money.
That is it.
And they keep rejecting him. So Goldman Sachs, the Wharton School, and of course, the Nobel Committee, the prize he so wants because Obama got it.
And look
he
at that
can't
face.
stand it.
She knows.
Stand it.
Look at that face. She knows that's what she's doing to his insides as well.
Yeah.
It's what's inside that counts.
Let's continue.
Then he isn't looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance,
misogyny
and
there.
many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth,
And
our
this is
value
where it
as a
goes
country. It's going to make
wild.
people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just,
That's 3 words.
We'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President.
4 sentences like run, spot, run. Run, spot, run. Those are 3 words, not a single sentence.
Well, I mean, if you put a period after each one, run,
I
spot, run,
suppose.
that's 3 sentences.
In fairness, I think he was trying to say they're like 4 very simple sentences, but I'm only able to tell this because I have been watching this clown for years and can
Woman,
translate his
man,
nonsense.
Person, woman,
wasn't
man.
really a good thing. Wasn't good execution. And also, that you want to just declare this is the moment he loses his. And I'll give you a quick little spoiler warning. He does not regain it.
No. No. Oh, my word.
Oh, let's do it, baby.
This is a good question from Cassie Lake. My biggest concern is if Kamala wins the popular vote, some of the red Republican states' electoral colleges won't ratify the vote in her favor.
Yeah.
Linda, do you share that? And yeah,
we're going to need our DOJ active from election day. Excuse me, let me rephrase this. We're going to need our Department of Justice active from election day to the certification. We already have people who lied, fake electors, officials whose job it is to ratify the election. People who lied in the last presidential election in some states have been reappointed as electors. The answer to this, and there's nothing to do for it except for me to get as many Americans as I can, and hopefully some patient Canadians nudging us along, to contact their officials and their local law enforcement and to say, I want to see you making these people do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult because then you have the government insisting with force that an election be fair. But if we have this situation, and that's a very real concern, where they're trying to create confusion in order to later. Well, now here's the thing. If we have this, I'll finish the one point and then say why it's probably not as much of a concern this time. If that happens this time, the reason we need to stamp down on it quickly is so that others see, that's not going to fly this time. I'm not going to play this game. But here's the difference. Last time, the reason they did that was not because they thought, we'll get enough states to confuse the matter. The reason they did that is because they were trying to do that what do they call it? Green Bay sweep, where they use confusion as an excuse for Mike Pence to overturn the election. Well, Mike Pence is Harris this time, so that confusion won't help them do that. The only thing confusion would help them with is a casus belli, I don't know how to say that, for an actual civil WAR. But I don't think, frankly, they've got the guts for it. So who knows how this is going to pan out.
Mm-hmm. That thing you mentioned, Mr. Grizzly, about Wharton, it seems that Donald Trump had first stated that a certain professor, William T. Kelly, had claimed Donald Trump was the smartest student I ever had. And in actuality, Kelly never said that. What Kelly actually is reported saying is, quote, Donald Trump was the dumbest goddamn student I ever had.
The goddamn makes it so good.
So he literally took somebody that was real, that went to school, that said the literal opposite about him, and then turned around. It's like when somebody says, you're pretty fucking stupid, and somebody goes, I heard the pretty part.
Yeah.
I just...
He heard Donald Trump was the goddamn student, and he switched dumbest to smartest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because in his head, that's what he heard. Remember, this is a man who, in a deposition, they said, well, what is your net worth? He goes, well, some days I feel like a billionaire, so I say I'm a billionaire. I just feel it, so I say it. I'm 7 feet tall.
A vibes-based businessman. Good Lord.
Don't ever go into business with Donald Trump, because if you do, you're going to get screwed. Ask a contractor. He can't build anything in New York.
Don't ask
for a number of reasons now, but yes, especially because of the contractors not wanting to work with him.
He stiffed everybody. He has bankrupted so many companies that have built communities, buildings, hotels, and he never paid them. And he had to take them to court and sue them into oblivion.
Also, Trump.org is now not allowed to.
That's correct. Yeah,
indeed. So, is there any more in the first clip, Mr. Grizzly?
Yeah, we'll keep rolling here. I might have to bow out soon because the construction in the building has begun and it's getting quite noisy here. So what I will do is when it gets to the point where it's untenable for me to continue doing this from the studio, I will switch to my phone so I can monitor while you two gentlemen can continue the back and forth. But we won't be able to play the clips as easily. It's still doable from my phone, but not as easily. Due to the fact that it's trying to do it on phone, even though it's sophisticated. And you hear that now?
Yeah.
Yes. I thought for sure that was my computer, so that's a relief.
And I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The vice president brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration.
I'm sorry, there was a miscommunication there. I mean, the response is revealing, but it wasn't a point that I wanted to highlight in particular. But I mean, like, come on.
Yeah.
No worries.
Does this sound like a guy who can manage a bank account?
No. This is a guy I would not give money to go to the store with. Like I wouldn't have him pick me up a pack of donuts. And not even because he's dishonest. He is dishonest, and he for sure would go take that money and spend it on, I don't know, a down payment on a gold toilet. But he would not, even if he had every desire to do good that day in his heart, he would not be capable of figuring out how to accomplish that task.
Loaf of bread.
I don't know how he gets his pants on.
And a stick of butter. A loaf of bread, a quart of milk, a stick of butter.
I remembered.
I need donuts, so give me some dough seeds or maybe an already grown dough tree. And I don't know how long fertilizer. I don't follow.
God. All right. The next part we're going to go to, and this is maybe the part where Kamala Harris was the strongest, which was immediately after, which was kind of cool because, if the first bit, might have been the place where she was the shakiest or the least confident going in, whatnot, she really picked it up. And they just went from this to the abortion issue. Now, she was the point person on this file. So this is one that she knows inside out.
People coming in are criminals, and that's bad for our economy, too. You mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current.
No foreplay, just right into it.
What the hell?
Governor's doing an excellent job. But the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that.
Worth
and
noting
her
for a second.
vice presidential.
He got that wrong, by the way. He got that screwed up in his head. It was a Republican that said a version of that thing that he's saying. And what the Republican said is, and then later we'll decide what to do with the baby, implying, because this person is a Republican and is not therefore capable of thinking, implying that that one possibility might be that they kill the baby. Obviously, that's a nonsensical thing, and nobody wants to do that. But I just want to point out the thing. He thinks he's gigging a Democrat right now, and in this guy's world, perception is everything. So I guess his fans will think he got him good. But for the record, if you're one of his fans, this is why you're often heckled, because the person he's thinking of is a Republican that said that insane thing.
And let's not forget the lie he tells about the 9-month thing.
Yeah,
People
simply not
actually
true.
believe that, and it's not true.
If you ever even considered voting for this guy or supporting him, if you're not even in this country but you support him just because you enjoy evil, do understand that he's lying when he says that. It's not even a twisting of the truth, a lie by coloring in a certain way. It's just a straight up lie.
A straight up
So
lie.
then you have to ask yourself,
the look
if
of
he's lying to you
exasperation
about
on
this.
Kamala's face in the freeze frame we have right now.
Sure. But if he's lying to you about this, what else? That's a pretty serious thing, don't you think?
Mhm.
Killing I'm sorry to demonetize your channel. Doing that to a child is murder. If he's lying to you about children being that worded, what else is he lying to you about? Great and small.
Well,
Probably a lot of things.
Let's not forget what his vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, said the other day when it came to school shootings. It's a fact of life.
That is how little these people care about you. That is how little these people respect you. And by the way, that is true from what I've seen of conservatives in every country around the world. Conservatives leaders do not respect the people that vote for them. And they are happy to lie to them, blatantly lie to them, because they have that little respect for your intelligence and, frankly, your lives.
Mhm. All right, let's keep it rolling.
Pick, which I think was a
that's fired
horrible
up.
pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's an execution, no longer abortion, because
That's a
the
lie.
baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother.
They
I
also
believe
lied,
strongly
by
in
the
it.
way.
Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now,
Democrat.
Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people
Another
would have
example
thought. But
where it's
each
not liberal?
individual state
there is none.
is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous.
I just love that he was like, now some things will surprise you. For example, Ohio, that ended up being more left on this issue than I would have thought. Kansas, that ended up being more left on this issue than I would have thought. But, well, moving on.
Every single state where abortion has been a ballot measure,
Yep.
the position that Trump adopts their spouses has failed.
Yeah.
Every single one. He's batting 0.
Even Trump doesn't want to vote for it. Even Trump in Florida. Because guess what? We enjoyed having, what is that thing? That thing people like. Bodily autonomy.
Freedom.
Yeah, that's it. What's that thing?
FREDUMB.
What's that thing? Fred wait, dang it. I just boofed that. What's that? Dean Martin had it. It was rights.
Yeah. Rights. Let's keep
Just
it going.
credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that.
Look at him.
A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've
Okay, I don't believe he was asked to make a comment.
gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states. And the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national?
Pardon?
That's a smart tactic for him to take. He's you know, it's still evil, but it's a good strategy. He needs to try to convince people who just had their rights taken away that I'm not going to take away any more of your rights, while appeasing people who wanted those other folks' rights taken away.
Won't that turn away a lot of the religious base that really is supporting what he's doing?
I've heard people say that. I've even seen some people like online saying, I'm part of the religious base and I hate this. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they understand what's up. I think they know what a massive victory this was for oppression, and they love oppression. And so they are grateful for that. I think they're probably going to stick with him on that. But that is how you walk the line. Say, I've done
well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President.
I'll run her response here, and then I'm going to have to jump because this noise has gotten to be too much, and my dog is going crazy. So I'll
fair enough, brother man.
We'll run the rest of this clip. Then I'm going to jump onto the phone and I'll head outside because this is
absolutely
insane.
And Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask: would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President.
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it.
He saw
I have been
that?
a leader
What
on
does he mean?
fertilization,
What did he do?
IVF. And the other thing, they
can't clarify.
You should ask.
Nothing.
Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question. Would you veto?
You could
Oh,
do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside, and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
At about, I don't actually know. I think after that next question, and we don't even have to go looking for it, but I just want to bring it up. She brings up that comment of 81 million people telling him he's fired. I think I've seen this guy get shot on stage, but that is the most he's ever looked shot on stage. Was last night when she said that.
Absolutely. Mr. Grizzly, the only other clip I had was the section on immigration. It's a bit of a longer one. I have no problem with letting it play through if you think you have the time to do that, because all you would have to do is then stop it, and then you wouldn't have to look for any other clips. All right. This one is a doozy.
Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported.
Here it is.
And that
Brick to
bill
the
would have
teeth.
put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time
That's how you get
where
the
the people
uninformed
of our
voter.
country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even
That's
when it's
what
not the
your
subject that is being raised.
uninformed uncle
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and
Tends
I'm
to
going to
know.
invite you
Will
to
repeat.
attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And
looks
I
like
will
a
tell you, the
kid
one thing you will not hear him talk about
who's
is
finding
you.
out
You will not hear him talk
teachers
about
been
your
writing down
needs, your
his
dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill,
Killing
and
him.
successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional
Yeah, go to
agents
his
and officers
rally.
on the border.
First,
how
let me
pathetic
respond
they
to
are.
the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing
that
them in a
face.
different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in
You're a size queen. La la la. I can't.
The look on her face and the look on his face. And I love how it was a serious question that he was supposed to answer. And immediately he goes to the rallies. Just because she got
She
that in there,
mentioned-
stuck it in his side and twisted.
Yeah.
It's amazing. She said all these devastating things about him. Just appreciate this. She said all these devastating things about him, about how he wasn't going to help you, and none of his policies will do these things, and that he only cares about himself. And then she says, go to his rallies and check it out. They're pathetic. And what does he do? He doesn't respond with how he's going to help people. He only responds to the rally thing.
Yep.
She lays out what his flaws are, and then she has him demonstrate his flaws for people in real time. Prosecutor Kamala Harris.
And she also says, over the course of the night, you're going to hear him talk a lot about immigration, even when it has nothing to do with immigration. And he does it about 7 more times during the debate. Because this is the only section on immigration, which he couldn't wait to get to because he brought it up in the first answer and brought it up again in the second answer. So, heck, okay, fine. You want to talk about it so much? Let's talk about immigration. Let's get it out now, I guess. And then he starts talking about his rallies. You wanted to talk about immigration.
It speaks not only to his weakness, but also to her strength. And I said savviness earlier.
She pulls him off his number one best issue by throwing the rally thing in there. This is the issue on which he connects the most with his people, because they all hate the same people, and immigration is the whole. That's when he slithered down that escalator the first time like this. He went right to the immigration thing like this. Like this is of all the greatest hits, right? That's the last song at the concert. Like after the concert like this, he walks off stage and they call for the encore. This is the one he plays, and she pulled him off it.
Well, he's obsessed with size. Remember, also remember what Stormy Daniels told us.
Because he does so much with so little.
It's basic. Well, she didn't say he does so much.
No, he didn't.
Just that there's so little.
In the history of politics, that's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. God. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
That's just
time of death.
Yeah.
Time of death. Clear. That's where it happened.
First of all, your song there made me reminded me that I would like to say rest in peace to a proud son of Michigan, Darth Vader. James Earl Jones was a Michigander. He grew up in Brethren, Michigan, went to high school there, and the forest was indeed strong with that one. Mm-hmm. We love you dearly, Mr. Jones. And second, joining Mr. Jones of the afterlife, Donald Trump's political career, which ended at that moment we just saw right there. I do not know how you come back from that. That is the most racist thing I have ever heard. And I want to point out, I've heard Donald Trump speak before. That's incredibly racist. That's the most racist thing I've ever heard. And I've heard Fred Trump speak.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my. Even I haven't gone there.
Or at least quoted in a book.
The late James Earl Jones.
Love this Mark Hamill, R.I.P. Dad with a broken heart. Okay.
We'll continue in just a second here. It's the he's so proud to tell this blatant lie. So proud to tell this blatant lie, so he can bait the hook of his rabid racist base.
What did you guys? Do you guys think he? I mean, he must know it's a lie, right? Like, do you guys think his team thought it was real?
I hope so, because if not, what it says is extremely frightening.
Because it's not even a question of is he a racist? The question is, what kind of a racist is he? Is he the more forgivable, but you still can't trust him with anything because they're too dumb kind of racist, where he thinks like, yeah, Haitians eat dogs, and so this must be true? Or is it that he's like, here's a mean thing I can say about a sweeping group of people? I'm just the kind of racist that likes to pull strings. I don't actually care about human beings' lives. I want to point out that both are awful, but I'm just curious what kind you think he is.
I would assume he's the second.
I would think so too.
The only thing that makes me think that he's the second rather than the first is the same thing again, what I keep on saying about Putin. Like this, he appears to be completely undisciplined and whatnot, but when it comes to not saying Putin, he's got the discipline of a freaking Olympic athlete, doesn't he?
Good point. That's where the money comes from, I think. But yeah, this is his main strategy. I think you're right. I think this is him just being soulless and being like, oh, hey, that's a group we'll attack, and here's the attack we'll use.
And again, remember, he has been endorsed by a man who actually ate a dog.
What is this timeline?
It's like in that moment, the worm that died in RFK's brain had joint custody of the brains. I'm sorry, but like, come the fuck on.
And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go
He's
is
still
they
on
like
that.
what I say. They
She's
want to
got
bring
Tucker
our
Carlson
country
mouth.
back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase. Make America great again. She's destroying this
That's the
country.
look of pity.
And if
That's
she
the look of
becomes
pity.
president,
Yeah.
this country doesn't have a chance of success.
this.
Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up
oh, girl.
Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well,
All
I've
this-
seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
People on
this is
television
a
say
clar-
my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
No, we did. You were just
Talk about
informed.
extreme. You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really
Devastating.
know the inside
Devastating.
track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star
40
general, has said
out
he
of
has contempt for the
44.
Constitution of the United States.
Closest
His former
advisors.
national security advisor has said he is
They don't
dangerous and
vote for him.
unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person.
Yeah,
I
no
fired
shit.
most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban
You
and the
also
13
hired them, you
people
silly bastard.
who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals,
Going all
all
over.
those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one
But you
writes a
hired
book,
him
because with me
as
they can
well.
write books, with nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire
Not like you
anybody.
inherited
Look
them.
at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of
through their
their
resume.
economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about.
Has to clarify sitting president because Joe Biden got more.
This guy is obsessed with size.
He is. He really is. And like it's funny because it's sad, but it's sadder than it is funny. You know? You got to just wonder, has this guy, I mean, he truly might have never had anyone that genuinely cared about him. Now,
I question that
to
all
be
the
fair
time.
to everyone he's ever met, that's because he's terrible, and why would you care about him? But, I mean, his own mother, apparently not. All right. We did find one. We found one that's doing it.
Yeah, one illegal alien that ate a cat, Gordon Shumway, a.k.a. Alf. For those of you who are old enough and those of you who aren't, look up ALF, television show from the 80s.
Oh, mercy.
I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have thrown that in. I just cut you off. I just threw you right off. I'm so sorry.
No, that was my whole rant.
Shall
Yeah.
I continue with this follow-up, and then
Yes,
we'll okay, here we go. Just a second.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S.
With local
military.
police, yes.
You
Can you
also said
pause
you
it?
would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number
pause it, Grizzly?
is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them.
Just to be clear on what happened, because I didn't catch this till like the third time I watched it. I didn't catch the moment. What he says is, would you be sending police door to door? And Trump just very quickly goes, yeah. So here's the thing. And he moves on. But it really needs to be stressed. When you imagine a government that is authoritarian, and I don't know how else to put it, like Nazi-like, the thing you probably imagine is like the Gestapo going from door to door, like, where are the Jews? That's what he just confirmed is the plan. That's the plan he's pitching to voters, sending door to. Now he stresses there, you might wonder, why does he stress? It would be the local police. Specifically because it would be too on the nose to just call them Gestapo. Gang, that is him telling the whole world that he intends to do an authoritarian, insane state. It's just such a quick moment that I wanted people to really appreciate what was confirmed on stage.
They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice President...
Okay, Yelly Shouty.
The FBI...
Let me just back this up for a couple seconds here because it went haywire on me when I went to pause it. Just a sec.
I do apologize. I really do want to stress, though, when you're imagining, when people like imagine what the actual nuts and bolts of the worst case scenario would be, what actions would the government be taking that lead to the most dramatic scenes in movies about a dystopia, it's what he just confirmed on stage is his plan to do, to send the thugs of the government door to door, looking for people they can harass. The excuse will be that they're migrants. The effect will be brown people get herded up. Oh, is your last name Juarez? Welcome to the back of a police van.
Yeah, indeed.
Statements that they made. Crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump.
Okay, we could stop there because that was pretty much the end of the debate for all intents and purposes. It's been 3 questions. You've seen enough. It's really time to turn the page. This is exhausting.
Yeah. And for the record, in case you were wondering, did Trump just make a good point? No. The answer is always no. He's literally never made a good point. His case was not thrown out. Judge Cannon, a judge he appointed who refuses to recuse herself, she has been trying to throw it out. She used his potential immunity and an opinion by Clarence Thomas to throw it out. No standing to try to throw it out, but that has now been kicked up to the level above her, and it's almost guaranteed that that case is still going to happen and going to be a conviction.
Yep, indeed. Amazing. All right, Mr. Grizzly, I know you need to go out for a little bit, so there's one little thing I wanted to show before, because I was looking for it to find it when you were saying it, when Jake was mentioning that it was like the progression of hair along the way. The Saskatchewan Party released a photo of its team yesterday.
Have you seen this?
I have not.
Oh, boy. You're going to, if you could blow that up a bit, sir, because it's difficult to see on the screen. I'm about to load it up, but it's, if you can just, keep going. Bring it up to about 200%. Should be okay. There we go. Yeah. All right. Here we are. Okay. You can just scroll on down, and there's the new Saskatchewan Party.
It's the same guy.
That's what they all look the same to me.
I mean, all white bald guys look alike. I mean, come on.
But
so
they're also
so white, so bald.
I once had a gag where I wanted to, like a visual gag that I wanted to do, where there's like it's supposed to be a bunch of clones of a guy, but instead of investing very much in makeup, all we do is have them dress exactly the same. That's what's going on here.
Yeah.
They all pick their clothes out of the same like wedding store catalog. They all have the exact same look, vibe, just they're all dudes you would dudes you would be uncomfortable sat next to on a bus. I want to be absolutely crystal clear. Grizz, you are not of their ilk. If you were in that picture, I would still say, well, that guy doesn't look like he belongs. Because you have, what do you call it? A soul.
Yes.
And
The
that's
eyes have
very
it.
apparent.
Well, I need to share something with you two gentlemen right now who I don't believe either of you have seen this yet. This is a new spot for Kamala Harris's campaign, as I am led to believe. I don't know. I've just enjoy this.
Okay.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on.
Oh.
America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
I bet you did.
It's the size, and then he looks down at his hands, right? Like,
Right.
oh, that was a dick joke.
All right.
Oh, perfect.
And here's the thing, kids and cubs, because now this is the time I'm going to drop it. Because if debate night, if you thought that debate night couldn't possibly get better, once debate night was over, this kind of happened.
Oh yeah.
There's a picture of the world's most famous childless cat lady.
Yes.
I didn't even
looking-
pick up on that.
Yeah.
Looking fierce.
He did that intentionally.
Oh.
Like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you the most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about the proposed policies and plans for this country. Recently, I was made aware that AI of me falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to this site. It really conjured up my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. It brought me to the conclusion that I need to be very transparent about my actual plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is a steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ+ rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. I've done my research, and I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do, and the choice is yours to make. I also want to say, especially to first-time voters, remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it's much easier to vote early. I'll link where to register and find early voting dates and info in my story. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, Childless Cat Lady. Mr. Grizzly, you called it. You called it that she would say how she would vote, but she wouldn't tell other people how to vote, but she would encourage people to vote and do their own research. That's exactly what you did. You called this weeks ago. And does she know when to drop?
Oh, the time
Or not.
Spectacular.
That was amazing. It was amazing.
I mean, she could have done this any time, but it's like, oh my God, the wounded animal, like it's never going to get better than this. So let's let her have the moment. And then I'm just going to slide on in. And yeah, I'm going to just leave this right here. Thank you. Demure and mindful.
I do want to be clear. I don't think that if you are famous for doing non-political things, you have to get involved in politics. But she got all but dragged into this thing.
Yes.
Somebody who very clearly didn't want to be part of it. She got dragged into it, and she handled it beautifully. And I do think that if you're the sort of person that would hold a grudge against Taylor Swift over this, let me just offer to you, she got AI'd into it. Somebody else started it.
Right.
She just hit back.
Yeah, and she could have done that on the day of the AI, but no.
No.
She doesn't need instant gratification like some people.
Don't be mad at her for hitting back better.
Yeah.
And timing it well.
Yes.
It's like, oh,
Yes.
cold-blooded.
She's a
Oh
woman
my
in
God.
total
It's so
control
nice.
of herself.
Yes. She's got that Nancy Pelosi thing, what they keep on saying about her. It's like she'll decapitate you and you'll thank her and not know that you're bleeding.
hmm
That was so sweet and nice. Oh,
That was from Taylor Swift. That was like those memes where you see somebody go like that with a sword and then a fruit falls in half.
Yes. Yeah.
right.
It was just,
Yeah.
Ah,
my
gentlemen,
God.
do we have a show?
We do indeed.
I
sir.
think so, fellas.
All right. Do you have some final impressions you want to leave the kids and cubs with before I close it off?
I got one, if it's all right.
Yeah,
Yes.
please.
I missed you guys. Let me give
It
you
has been a while.
give you a hug here.
Mhm.
Oh, come right in. Bring it right in.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
All right. Kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show with your old pal Jake. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, and you have the mouths from which we want the word to come. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And if you would like to help us out, for example, by not missing an episode, you do not have to. Thanks to the Ray Girl. She's fun, she's fly, she's fabulous, and she also sponsors our pod page. So if you scan that QR code, that's just to the side of my chin right there, that will bring you to our pod page, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you click subscribe, we slide right into your box. All right. If
I'm not
you would
saying
like to help us in other ways, you need to make like Kit Elaine and surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube site, like 12,500 of you have already. Thank you so very much. And there we have 3 buttons for you to click, flick, and lick. Like, share, and subscribe. If you do that, it gets us some happy. You get our diet appreciation. It's win-win. So please go there and hey, we don't care how you get freaky with our buttons, as long as you do. All right. Then, if you'd like to help us in other ways, the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's lovely bald dome, because bald is very sexy, unless you're a Saskatchewan party member. Then.
In which case, it's just kind of weird.
Find some drag queen friends and get a wig.
A person of
just
color,
saying.
a woman.
Just saying.
I'm sure there's. I know not. I know that the entire population of the province of Saskatchewan doesn't look like me. So could we,
How about just one person not wearing a gray suit?
that would be nice.
A pop of color. Literally. Just a pop of color. An accent wall somewhere in the room.
Something.
Maybe. But if you would like to help us in other ways, the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's lovely dome will bring you to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And there, if you happen to have some toonies and loonies that are weighing you down, well, we like to help. So we have a tip jar for you. Just unburden yourselves over there. Again, you earn our undying gratitude. As Jake can confirm, it increases your sex appeal by 37.2%. They collaborated with us for the lab study. It's international studies now. So we got confirmation data. So yes, donating makes you look sexy. It works. Trust me. All right. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself, because democracy is something that you do. Remember, we have some by-elections coming up on the 16th, Elmwood-Transcona in Manitoba, La Salle Villemar-Verdun in Montreal, on the 19th in the Bay of Quinte, provincially for Ontario, and of course, the on the 19th, I believe, is the close of nominations for Ward 15 in Toronto. Run for something, kits and cubs. Please consider it, because democracy is something that you do. And do write those letters to our MPs, letting them know that you would really like them to start asking some questions and maybe investigating some stuff with regard to the DOJ's drop that there are 2 Canadians that decided to be talent agents for Russia. And ask if there are maybe some additional connections here connected to maybe one of our political parties, or maybe even 2 of them. So saying, because apparently Max Bernier had a campaign event organized by someone related.
Facts.
Turns out. Yes. All right. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom before we go?
Try and get a good night's sleep, everybody, because after last night, I think many of us lost a lot of sleep. Even though I only tapped out after 25 minutes, I did wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning in a state of sheer panic. I don't know why. I feel much better right now, and hopefully you do too. But I recommend getting as much sleep as possible, because we're in for a bit of a rough ride ahead, I think.
And for our old pal Jake, who was just too excited to sleep, do you have any words of wisdom?
Never trust Whitey.
Yeah.
Generally, seen me through a lot.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. That's good advice.
See, that's what I can't get away with. Oh my God.
I can get away with it.
I don't know whether or not I should approve of that. I mean, I'm laughing hard, so I guess I'm approving. I'm just, oh my word. I did not see that one coming. All right, kids and cubs, have a most horrific day. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock.
I'm sorry.
You haven't been here for a while, have you?
It's been a minute.
We redecorated. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. That was good enough. I don't think I have an Easter egg.
No, I don't really have anything, to be honest with you. I thought I was going to dig something up, but I just decided, I think we can just end on that. Right. I do want to show you this, though. I think this is important. This is focusing without giving him the desire he wants. Without giving him the desired outcome he wants, I should say.
Okay.
I'll put the thing that he put up, and this is a screenshot. Okay, this is a screenshot of his tweet. David Parker. I believe that liberal white women are actually the worst form of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go, girls. Between the childless cat ladies, couch dude, and this ignorant misogynist, we need to stand up and show them what we're made of.
David, I'm sure it's mutual. I have one for you, Mr. Grizzly, that relates to the Trump. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. Cats in Springfield.
Giving you the side eye.
Trust me, if you are on internet, there is an endless stream. It's like, is he having a stroke? It's just a whole bunch of it's comedy gold. It's comedy gold, but remember, this is very serious.
Serious stuff. All right, I gotta go.
Have a
I
great
will
day.
see you.